Hello everybody, this is Mark from Sinewave, and this is part 3 of my mobile site survey tutorial. So where we left off at was we had downloaded the CSV file from the 5G Ready IO website, and now that we have that, we need to go to Google Maps. So we're going to create our own new map, and this is this button right here. We'll select that, create. And then we're going to add a layer. So, or add this layer here. We're going to title it whatever we want. So test. We will save that. We're going to click import, and we are going to click and drag our CSV file we saved. If you get this, anonymous uploads are not allowed. Then what we can do to circumvent that is we can use either Firefox, or I think you can even potentially use anonymous mode. We'll try that here next. Okay, so we moved over to incognito mode. I think it will work in Firefox all the same as well, but for some reason, Google Chrome sometimes throws that alert at you where it will not allow you to upload those CSV files. So if that's the case, incognito mode works. So we'll import again. We'll move our file over. Now, you'll be first asked this question right here. So which columns do you want to use for this positioning of your place marks? And what this is everywhere you have roamed, or even if you've stayed still, the data that's collected, or one piece of data that's collected, is your latitude and longitude. So this is using that metric or that data in the CSV file to know where to place your markers on the map. So we're going to leave this alone, and we'll hit continue. This next one is what you want to title your markers. It will be in this column over here on your left where it says untitled layer. This will be the title of that layer. So you could use really anything you want, anything that's pertinent to what you're wanting to see. In my case, I'm going to use carrier if I can find it. Here we go. So we'll select carrier. And maybe in your case it could be different, but let's say you're wanting to check out, between Verizon, T-Mobile, and Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T. It would place that here. So maybe this will be the Verizon file, and I put the Verizon file and then use carrier, and it'll show Verizon here. And then I later on upload the AT&T file, and so forth. So we'll click finish. It's going to compile that. This is all the CC. I was not mobile, but this is all the tests that it did. And by the way, the screenshots you've seen me do, or excuse me, the data you see me collect in 5G Ready, it only showed like 3 or 4 lines. I let it run for a lot longer, so it obviously collected significantly more data than I had in previous videos. So that's what you're seeing here. And again, if we click on each one of these instances, it's going to show us a lot of detail. RSRP, SINR. We see 5G is not enabled, or it's enabled, but it's not receiving a signal in 5G, which makes complete sense. And then, the download and upload. So now let's make this a little bit better. What we can do is we want to change this uniform style. Maybe we want to see what our download is. Let's just say download. So we can use any of these, but if I want to parse my data by download, then I'm going to say I want to do a range of 12. And now if we look at this, we can see that it's showing the light colors are the lowest, all the way to the dark colors being the highest. And here you can see how many of those are. If we click on them, then it keeps them kind of highlighted, if you will. We can find them a lot easier. And by the way, this is easier to see when these things are mobile, because they won't be stacked up on each other like this. Furthermore, we can click on this again, and we can say we want to set a label. This goes back to the serial number I was telling you about. We can change that to the actual name of the vehicle or the name of the device or whatever to kind of make it more user-friendly. Serial number is going to show you just that. And most people do not know what serial number belongs with what vehicle, what building, or what people that they're assigned to. But if I were to click that, we can see again, it shows you exactly that, the serial numbers. Not as very user friendly, but again, if we change that, we could make that CSV file say anything here in the serial number that we want it to. And that is about it. That is a wrap. As you can see, very useful data. Again, it plays out much better if it's in a mobile environment. In fact, I can show you a mobile environment and what that looks like and kind of give you a real world scenario. Here's a test we did, exactly what I spoke about before, T-Mobile and Verizon. You see both of these checked. Now these are two different CSV files. And we did just the same thing I showed you earlier, was we based it off a download, and again it groups them. You cannot change what these are grouped by. So in other words, don't click here and edit this and make it 0 to 10 thinking it's going to change this output. It will not. It will just change the label. So do not mess with that if you want to make sure it's accurate. So it broke it down into 12 different slices or 12 different categories, and it shows you what the test is along the way. So this is really nice because now I can, maybe I just want to look at T-Mobile, and there you go. Maybe I just want to look at Verizon, and there we are. And we can scroll down. Again, different colors, different shades of the color mean different things, right? So some of these are, and you have a whole bunch of data, and you can get really in depth in what you want to see and then how you display that. There's a whole lot of options here for you, but this is just one way to kind of give you an overview of what's possible. And that is mobile site survey in a nutshell. Now, what I want to do is I want to go back to here, make sure I'm actually logged in. That wasn't false. So let me refresh this page. What we want to do is really quick, I want to show you what we really need to do next. So understand this thing is still running. It's not stopped. We can stop it a couple different ways. So if we go into groups, if we go into groups, click on the group itself, extensibility, SDK, we can select it here and we can delete it here. Now, maybe we don't want to delete it there. Maybe we just would like to stop it. So we can go into devices. Notice I clicked on devices. I clicked on the router itself, the name itself, went to extensibility, SDK, and we see it here. And notice it says started. It's running. If I want to stop this, I can click stop here. This will take a second. And now if you get this server error, what this is saying, it doesn't really give you much data. But really what's happening is, this thing is actively doing a speed test. So if you try to stop it, it will give you an error. You must wait for it to stop the speed test. And then you can click stop here. Well, how do we know? Well, you see this right here? You're going to notice this circle popping up and going away, popping up and going away this entire time that it belongs to this MSS group. When you see this, what it is doing is, although it says configuring sync pending, it's not entirely accurate with this particular SDK. What this is signifying is it is actively doing a speed test. So if you click this button here to refresh, it will go away. Again, we have this base. I think I changed this off screen to every 60 seconds so I can accumulate a lot of data. So it's going to pop off quite often. However, when it stops, like right now, we should be able to go back here, MSS test group. Oops, wrong one. I'm sorry. Let me go back to devices, extensibility, SDK, and stop. There we go. Now if we refresh, there we go. We see stopped. And that's exactly how it should be. That's how it should perform. And right now it's stopped. So we can leave it in this state. I do believe, don't quote me on this, but I do believe if that router gets rebooted, I do believe this starts back up. So you can stop it if you have some other work to do or you want to do some other testing, you can stop it. But ultimately what we need to do is remove this, and you'll see this again. It's not doing a speed test. It's because I stopped it. That sync is getting pushed down as well. So eventually that's going to go back to nothing being there. But the point being is we need to move this. So I'm going to move this into, and it may not let me with the sync pending. We'll see. There we go. And you see this right here. What this is doing is download a new NCOS update because the group I'm moving it to has a higher or different NCOS version. So that's it. Now this group here has nothing in it. This MSS or this SDK is not running on anything. Again, you see the router count installed. It's all blank. We can delete it from here if we want to, or we can simply just delete the group. Likewise, we can go back into the tools and then click on, SDKs, which we're already on. There we go. Disable this SDK if we want to. Totally up to you. It's really not doing anything because it's not going to be tied to anything. It is tied to a group, but I'm going to actually delete that, so it won't be tied to anything. So I can just leave it sit here. Or I can leave it in this group and not have any routers in it, and if I needed it, I can just drop routers in there and continue to test. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, please reach out. Mark at sinewave.io. That's SYNWAVE.io. Thanks.